Hi, I'm Verhallen. I work for the Ministry of Agriculture and Food, and today we're at the University of Guelph-Ridgetown Campus talking to Dr. Laura Eerd about her long-term cover crop trials. This is such really cool work that she's been doing since 2007, and it's pretty much unique in North America. So let's talk to Laura. Can you tell us about the motivation for setting up this plot? What got it started so many years ago?
I wish I could say that I had envisioned being here to talk about the long-term trial when I first started in 2007. But in reality, the motivation was to look at nitrogen dynamics and weed dynamics. And so because we had short season vegetable crops, you motivated me to put in cover crops.
This is a terrific sandy loam soil. You've told me before that the organic matter is really good on it, something like 3%. Very, very representative of the both fresh market and processing vegetable soils that we've got here in Kent County, but also in Norfolk. What about the rotation that you've established here? Tell me more about that.
So the setup of the experiment, we're in a processing veg system, which includes several different processing vegetables plus grain crops. We've planted the same cover crop on the same plots since 2007. And we've repeated that experiment starting in 2008, side by side.
How are you establishing these cover crops, and when and how are you terminating?
So our approach, similar to many growers, is as soon as we harvest our main crop, we have the cover crop ready to go, and we plant the cover crop as soon as the main crop is harvested. So the cover crop treatments are oats, radish and rye, and then fall cereal rye by itself. What we'll do is because this is sandy loam soil, depending on the main crop, we'll disc and then cultivate a couple of times. So we're really creating a great seeding bed for the cover crops.
Question, we've got corn there this year.
Yep.
So cover crop. How's that working here?
After grain corn, we don't plant a cover crop. We made the decision just to harvest the grain, and then of course when we plant winter wheat, we don't have a cover crop.
So you're really targeting the cover crops for where they fit in the rotation, and there's enough time to get some good growth out of them.
You got it.
That's important to keep in mind when we start talking about what your findings have been.
So the visual observations that we've made over the 12 years, well, it hasn't been entirely consistent, right? And that's not surprising with the different years and the different crops. But where we do see differences between the cover crops, I can generally state that we see better growth with the cover crop than without. And then in some cases that translates to statistical differences in yield. In some crops it's more obvious than others. And mainly it's in the vegetable crops. They seem to be more responsive. We can stand at the edge of the field and kind of look and say, okay, this crop looks less green. If we talk in terms of data collection, we have documented statistical differences compared to the no cover crop control in the amount of nitrogen that's prevented from being leached out of our fields.
So after all these years working on this project, are there some specific cover crop species that you think work better for these rotations?
I can't recommend one over the other in terms of thou shalt always plant this species or this. It's more about what is your goal, what are you trying to achieve.
3 take-home messages.
So the first one is the value of doing long-term research. The questions we had 12 years ago are different than the questions we have now, and we can only answer those questions because we have long-term trials and we have those side-by-side comparisons. The second take-home is yield. On average, 8 years, we've increased yields by 4 to 11%. Third point is soil health. So with these cover crops, we planted the cover crop 6 times over 8 years, and we've seen marked differences in soil health. And so what I'm wondering next is, has the soil improved so much that now it's cycling, now it's providing your main crop with nitrogen fertility and other fertility that makes your other inputs easier to manage? And that's the value of long-term cover crop research.